It's your boy DZ. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button and share this video. I got the YSL trial going on today. And they got more testimony. Yesterday, Thug's lawyer presented to the court some things that they're trying to use against him that his lawyer feels that it shouldn't be allowed in court. The judge has been on the prosecutor's side for majority of this process. When the prosecution is doing things and Young Thug's attorney is objecting to these things, the judge is still allowing things in the evidence. So Thug is going to have a lot of appeal issues. There's going to be a lot of appeal issues for him. And he just got to keep fighting. It can go either way. Some things look in his favor. Some things look like they're not in his favor. But at the end, it's all up to a jury to make that decision. And they're trying to cram a lot of things in on this situation to paint their picture. Some things shouldn't be allowed in as evidence, but it's up to the judge, and the prosecution is going to push it. You got to understand, these people all go to lunch together. They all hang out together. They all have personal relationships beyond the courtroom. It's their world. It's their game.
596. It's out. It's time of the year. It's -4. So what that means, these records, you have to subtract 4 hours to equal Eastern time. That's the way AT&T does it. Other providers will do the conversion and give you the records in our time as they are. So when you get the records back, you have to make note of that. You have to know that. So yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've had a request that we need to take a comfort break. So please forgive us. We're going to go ahead and take a 10-minute comfort break, and then we'll go ahead and resume our examination. So at this point in time, all rise. All right, our jury has left us. Sir, you can take a 10-minute recess. We'll see you back.
Yes, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. All right, whoever needs to use the facilities can go.
All right, so they about to take a recess. They were going over some of these phone calls. Let's see what we got here. Hold on. Let's see what we got here.
At an Excel document or at a Word document.
And is that section number 139E the compilation?
Yes.
Did he plead soon after? Not soon. Did he plead after we heard the call?
Yes.
When was that?
So this jail phone call was October, so it would have been like November, maybe 23rd, something like that.
2015?
2015.
Now, did you learn that Mr. Winfrey had to, that something occurred, he had to take another plea
Yes.
on the second case?
Same case, yes.
When did that occur?
That was like at least the following year. It was sometime after that. Yeah, probably sometime after that, like the next year. It definitely wasn't 2015.
Sorry. Now, did you ever obtain medical records in this case?
We did.
Why did you obtain medical records?
There was a discussion in reference to a possible defense.
Hearsay, confrontation card.
Did you hear?
I'll sustain objection. Other grounds you can phrase.
Did you ever hear Mr. Winfrey himself in any of your jail calls speak about an injury?
Yes.
What injury?
To hands.
And why did you get the medical records?
We wanted to know the extent of the injury per the medical records.
And did you obtain those medical records?
I did.
Did you find anything that assists you in your investigation as related?
Your Honor, that would be hearsay. I agree, that was my objection. And the medical records, state response?
I hadn't finished the question yet. Was there anything significant in the records that assisted with your investigation?
Same objection, Your Honor.
He's talking about.
Total on both Mr. Steele and Mr. Matthews.
Nothing that would change our investigation.
Okay, thank you. Now, as relates to this case, did you have an opportunity to analyze specific cell phones to include the phone ending in 3383, 5790, 2920, and 1990?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to kind of synthesize those phone records and do a phone analysis?
Yes.
What type of phone analysis did you do regarding those records?
So basically the communication of those phones to each other in and around the time, like a 4-hour-ish time frame around the time of our incident.
Okay. You're on permission to approach?
You may.
Thank you. I'm going to first show you what the market stakes is at 139E.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize it as 139?
I do.
And how do you recognize it as 139?
So this is the phone records, but it's kind of just been made prettier, I guess I would say, just for ease of looking versus at an Excel document or at a Word document.
And is that stakes exhibit 139E the compilation or the synthesis of the records that we just discussed?
Yes, ma'am.
And are those the records contained in stakes exhibits
Oh, you're fine.
133 Echo, 134 Echo, 135 Echo, and 136 Echo?
Correct.
And does that appear to be a fair and demonstrative of the analysis that you did as it relates to those phones?
Yes, according to my review, yes.
Now, I want you to look at State's Exhibit first, 139 Echo. I don't know what that is, Frank?
Foxtrot.
Okay,
Foxtrot.
Foxtrot. What is State's Exhibit 139 Echo Foxtrot?
So that's just a, I'm sorry.
Is it Fox or Foxtrot? Foxtrot, okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, so that's just going to be the phone numbers just kind of placed out so we can look at it, and then the known subscriber information to as we know it from the records.
And looking at State's Exhibit 139 Echo Alpha, Echo Bravo, Echo Charlie, Echo Delta, and Echo Echo Does this appear to be a blown up version or a larger version, of what's contained in State Exhibit 139 Echo?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to tender State Exhibit 139 Echo and 139 Echo Foxtrot, 139 Echo Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo into evidence as a demonstrative. Just explain to the jury what's on State Exhibit 139 Echo Foxtrot.
So this is kind of like what was handwritten on the board yesterday. These are the phone numbers that were frequent calls for the time of the incident. And then, as we can see, they're color-coded. And then the name that was listed on the phone records is put in on some of those phone numbers or associated with some of those phone numbers.
And again, for 404-583-1990, which exhibit was 404-583-1990?
So that's going to be 134 Echo Charlie was the broken down smaller excerpt.
And for the 504-319-2920, what was the exhibit number for 504-319-2920?
The 135 Echo Charlie is the snippet portion, not the full records.
And for the 404-664-3383, what was that exhibit?
So that's going to be the 133 Echo Charlie. But I believe that's going to be the full records.
What is 678-353-9229?
Okay. So that's going to be the 136 Echo Alpha is the disc with those full records.
And then for the 678-815-5790, what's the exhibit number there?
So the excerpt one, just a couple of pages one, is going to be the 138 Echo Charlie.
That of 2015?
Yes.
And is that leading up until about 4 a.m. on, what is the date of the times you're referencing?
So April 25th, 10 p.m. to about April 26th at 4 a.m. So that's a 6-hour window. I'm sorry, my apologies, but yes.
And if you can just kind of walk the jury through what we're seeing in first 139 Echo Alpha. Just tell us who's calling who and what we're seeing here.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave the mic.
Please don't roll off.
Okay, so on this first page, what we're seeing is kind of just speaking the last four. The 2200, that's going to be 10 p.m., but the 9596, it's an outgoing call to the 1990 phone number. So if we obviously come down here and look at the our little chart here, so we have this unknown caller calling in to the 1990, which is the YSL Enterprise. Again, we have the same thing just a minute later. We see a 0-second duration, so that means like no one picked up. And then the next call, just a minute later, we have the same numbers involved, outgoing to incoming, and then 40 seconds. So there was actually contact made on that record. Next to the third one down, we see 1990. So now 1990 is calling out. Just
I object to, so we know that there was contact. We know that it's.
What's the basis for that, sir? What's the basis for your objection?
ask you this. When it comes to the record of 1990, as far as how the record is formed, what time zone is the record in for 1990?
Okay, so 1990, the way we get it from AT&T, it's UTC, Universal Time Coordinated. So GMT, it's also referred to. So basically, their records go off Greenwich Mean Time, which is in London. And so you have to do math from what the records are back to our time zone in Eastern time zone here. It depends on the time of the year, daylight savings, or not daylight savings. For this time of the year, it's -4. So what that means, these records, you have to subtract 4 hours to equal Eastern time. That's the way AT&T does it. Other providers will do the conversion and give you the records in our time as they are. So when you get the records back, you have to make note of that. You have to know that. So yes.
Before you go on, ladies and gentlemen, I've had a request that we need to take a comfort break.
Well, they still on a comfort break. And they going through these phone calls. So they got a lot of phone calls from the associates with YSL. And they didn't listen to them. And now they are presenting these to the jury. So you know it's going to be more that they're going to come out with these phone calls, but I guess they're just establishing the connection from who is who and what number is associated to who. Yeah. Let's see what we got here at the earlier.
They're speaking to provide context. So I understand that you're asking it's considered hearsay. I've considered that, but this would be an exception to that.
And the context is always like if the Honorable Mr. Matthews said to me, how much money do I bring to the drug deal? And my response was, bring $500. My response would make no sense unless Mr. Matthews
Sure.
is not involved in the conspiracy, he's working with the government or whatever.
Understand.
That would make sense. But here it is the person on the recording saying that another person, I don't know who these people are, Your Honor. Another person said that there'll be a Porsche vehicle given to Mr. Winfrey. So the context is really not anything here. The substance of the statement comes from a double hearsay declarant. That was why I brought it to your attention.
Okay.
Understanding, and honoring, but not waiving. That's why.
Yeah, I understand, because you're saying it's hearsay, and then the state's saying, well, it's not. It's an exception to that being its
They might say that, but we'd like you to decide it.
I'm sorry.
We'd like you to decide it.
Yes. Okay. All right. State.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, consistent with what the court just spoke about regarding the law and co-conspirator, this particular statement is furthering.
Which one? Be specific. Which one are you talking
The
about?
statement
Winfrey
that-
phone calls,
the Winfrey phone
or the Instagram.
No, we'll talk about the Winfrey phone calls first, Your Honor.
Okay,
The
all right.
Winfrey call, which is this call that's about 2 minutes, in which the unidentified declarant is an unidentified co-conspirator, because in that statement, what the declarant says is, we'll sit down for $250,000 in a Porsche. And Mr. Winfrey doesn't say no. He doesn't say anything. He says, okay, that's my boy. That's my boy. My boy ain't never changed. And so, Your Honor, that statement is furthering the conspiracy as far as concealing what occurred in the conspiracy, which is we will sit down, we will be quiet, we will not say anything for this amount of money. Now, whether or not that happened or not, whether or not he got paid, whether or not he got deported.
And you see, this is all an assumption from her. As the prosecutors take out what you say and make it to what they want it to be, this is what they present to a jury. They take the words that you say and put it into the context of what they want it to be. And the game with the system is who makes the jury believe their side of the story. So if this person had no right of saying it how they're saying it, and then the prosecutor makes up this is how they saying it, and the jury agrees with the prosecutor, then they can find them guilty on that. Then they could take the prosecution side in the situation. But they take what you say and put it into a context that fits them. That fits them. This is the game that they play.
Is of no consequence, but this conversation here shows that there's a covering up of the conspiracy, that conspiracy being one, the gang, and conspiracy two being the actual shooting of the bus, Your Honor. And so we believe that this would fall under the co-conspirator hearsay exception.
Are you going to identify the speakers on the call?
We'll identify Mr. Winfrey. I believe this, the person he's speaking to is Shad, who is mentioned in other calls as well.
All right. Okay.
But that's the only identifier that we know his name is Shad.
All right. Sir, Mr. Harvey.
Your phone is never safe. Your phone is never safe. When you have all these associations with different people, the worst thing you can do is communicate with all these different people on the phone, thinking that you can say whatever you want to say, talk however you want to talk, and when a situation occurs, like they're not going to go look for the phone records.
I want to make sure we're making the appropriate distinctions here with regard to, and I understand the court's ruling, but I want to make sure that I get on record what I think are critical distinctions. Let's go back to when the court said, state, give us all your 801D2E statements that you're going to use during the trial of the so that we can take these issues up now and not during the trial, just like we're doing. So number one, I do want to say that these alleged 801D2E, and I'm not agreeing that they are, statements that are now being proffered were not provided to us, and we didn't have an opportunity to litigate them pre-trial. And now we're doing exactly what the court didn't want us to do, number one. Number two, we're also talking about a confrontation clause problem because we have, for example, the pleas of guilty, admissions by co-defendants that are coming in that we cannot cross-examine. For example, precisely the ones that we are talking about now. Mr. Murphy, we know that beyond the hearsay argument, Judge, there is a confrontation clause argument.
Have you taken a look at U.S. versus Thompson? That is, that is 568F.
These proceedings, right, are never fair. When you hear how one side, which is usually defense, can't say this, can't cross-examine certain things, and then you see the prosecution side is able to enter whatever they want to enter, talk about whatever they want to talk about, because they know if it was fair on both sides, I really think that most of the time it wouldn't look as strong for the prosecution. Certain things and certain tactics, how the system is set up, it makes it look strong when the prosecution presents a case. And the defense is trying to fight to defend themselves. But the state has the burden of proof. They have to prove the allegations. So they like said it where as though the defense doesn't have any leverage in the situation. They just have to sit there and fight off whatever the prosecution is presenting. They really don't have a solid ground to stand on, because everything they try to put out there, it gets rejected.
APPX 812 11th Circuit 2014, and it talks about the right of a defendant to confront accusers. Thompson seems to indicate no, but I understand your point. I understand your point. I do.
He knows that he's right, though.
That there's an 801 D2E right of confrontation. There's
the judge stated that he wanted them to present everything before time so that they can go over it pre-trial, not while the trial is going on. But the prosecution, they don't get penalized for it, so they're going to bring it out whenever they want to bring it out. And if the judge rejects it, he rejects it, and they're going to try to plead their case why it still should be entered.
Mission of a co-conspirator, an admission of theirs or a confession of theirs that we can't confront, that presents a different problem, like a plea of guilty. We argued that with regard to Jefferson, and I think Jefferson versus the state is clear. So I want to make the distinction, state versus Jefferson, and I want to make the distinction because it comes in under a hearsay exception does not resolve the confrontation issue. And Mr. Nichols does not waive that confrontation issue, even if you find that it's a co-conspirator statement.
801 D2E statements are not considered to be hearsay. They are. They're not.
I understand.
Okay, I just want to clarify. That's all.
I understand
Okay.
that.
All right.
And I want to make the distinction that because it comes in, there is a
all that gangster talk that the rappers talk, they really don't want to be in this situation right here. This is a situation that all that heavy talk and that gangster talk, this is a situation that nobody wants to be in. You wish you can take it back. You wish you can start over. You wish that it didn't come to this. But sometimes we be in our own way, man. You'll have all the blessings coming your way. Things will be going good for you. And then you trick yourself out of position. You're fighting for your life in a situation like this. But it's a possibility that he can get a mistrial in this situation. It is a lot of things that are appealable. It's a lot of issues. The case is going to go on so long, we don't know how it's going to go. The life design, though, of humans, people with emotional feelings dictating your future. You got people that might have family members that been through different things in the street, and they might not like anything coming from the street. So they might be against Young Thug without even hearing the evidence. They might already have it in their mind how they're going to rule on the verdict. They might already got their mind made up. And then it might be some people that might be like, I don't see the evidence directly tied to Young Thug. There might be some guilty folks in the situation, but who is directly tied to Young Thug that makes Young Thug the base of the situation, in this case to be a Rico? And for the jurors, you got to be one
Summon our witness, please.
different type of person to sign up for this. You got to be a different type of person to sign up to be sitting here
All
every
right,
day
Sergeant, summon our jurors, please.
presiding over this case.
While he's doing that, counsels, this is just for you all, for your benefit. Just as a reminder, please do not object until the full question has been posited. That is a continuing request from Ms. Weaver. And she has told you, and I'll just reiterate, that she cannot take and make the best record that she can make unless you do that. So please wait till the question is fully posited before you pose an objection. Don't cut off each other. All right?
And the court reporter, Ms. Weaver, is overwhelmed in this. It's a lot going on.
That was a paid public announcement.
You got to be on point with a job like that, listening to what everybody's saying and recording everything. That job there going to take some focus. Everybody hunched over like they saying a prayer or something.
All right, thank you, Sergeant Ingram. All right, Ms. Hilton, you may continue with your examination.
So I think when we got off, you were speaking about the UTC time and having to convert it.
Yes. So UTC is Universal Time Coordinated. So GMT is the same thing. Zulu time in the military is the same thing. Basically, it's the way that everyone in the globe can tell when something happened at the same time is the concept. So because that is basically the standard, UTC is the standard, we're in Eastern time zone here in Atlanta. Not to confuse it, but if it's daylight savings or not, you're either subtracting 4 because you're going 4 time zones back from that UTC line, or you're subtracting 5. Based off the date, we subtract 4 on this incident. So on some records, when you look at the records, it'll say UTC. So on those records, we would have to minus 4 if you're doing this manually. If you're putting it into software that's doing it, the software knows that and the software does it. That's why we have the software to confirm what we're doing manually. Some records come in when you request it from that service provider, they will do the conversion for you and they'll give it to you in the time zone you request it in. But that conversion has been done in these demonstratives. That conversion's already done, so we're looking at the correct time for Eastern time in these demonstratives.
And just for an example, if this 1990 number is an outgoing call at 29 seconds here, what time would it be reflected in the record?
So that's not 29 seconds, that's 0029. So that's midnight, so it's 12:29. Military time, it's 0029. So in that time, if we're seeing 0029 there, that's converted. If that was originally UTC, which it was, we would plus 4 to that number. So in the records, it would show 0429 in the records, because it's AT&T, we do the conversion back, -4, it equals 0029 to keep it all consistent right there.
Man, that's going to
And what I wanna
confuse
have
the
you do,
jury.
Your Honor, permission for Agent Racy to step down?
He may step down.
Okay. And if you take that pointer?
You're going to confuse the
Now,
jury. You telling
I
about the
believe we
time
were still
going
at the
forward, the
April
time
25th
going
date.
back.
If you can just go through, let's start with April 25th, who's calling who, what phone numbers is making contact with another phone number.
Okay, so again, green, so we look down here, it's green, so we don't know who the subscriber is at this point in time. And it's at 22:04, so that's 10:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then it's calling 1990 and 0 seconds did not connect. Outgoing 22:05, so 1 minute after at 10:05 p.m. Outgoing to incoming 1990, 40 seconds. There was a 40-second connection between the phones where, based off the records, there's communication for 40 seconds based off the records.
And let me ask you this, the time on the boards at the time the call starts? Because some of them,
Correct. If you went on further, yes, correct. So the next one is 2306, so 1106. 1990 is now calling 3383. So again, we check who's 1990, check who's red, who's 3383, and we look and we see, so it's outgoing from what we have as YSL to incoming, which we have Jimmy Winfrey, and that lasted 2 seconds. There was a connection for 2 seconds.
all right. Now, starting on April 26, 2015, what the demonstrative tell us? Or tell the jury?
So we have outgoing from 1990. So again, checking our, kind of like our little index here, our cheat sheet key, whatever you want to call it. We have YSL Enterprises calling 3904, which again, we don't have the subscriber data off of cell phone records at that point in time, and it was 0 second connection. So again, continuing down, we have red, so 3383, which has Jimmy Winfrey calling at 1240, 00440, calling 1990, YSL, 0 seconds, no connection. Outgoing, 1990, 0043 hours, so 1243, calling what we have is Jimmy Winfrey, 2 second connection. And just continuing down, 0044 hours, what we have is Winfrey calling YSL, 0 second connection. And you may just continue.
And let me ask you this, for the rest of this demonstrative, is it the Jimmy Winfrey phone calling the YSL phone back up at least until 1:07 a.m.?
Correct. It's back and forth, and then obviously we see the duration of calls there in the right column.
Thank you. Step back down. Now, same thing. If you can just kind of walk through, what do we see on State's Exhibit 139, Echo Bravo?
So again, we have the blue. Check down what we have blue for 9229. It's the phone that we identified by the subscriber information as a KYBE. So this is at 1:13 in the morning. That's easy conversion from military to or 24 hours in a day to 12 hours. But that's 1:13 calling 1990 for 4 second duration of the phone call.
And one's at 1:13 in the morning.
1:13 in the morning, yes, ma'am.
And Kai B, did we identify the name of the person with the Kai B?
I believe we did. I'd have to go look at the records, but I believe we did.
Was that the number given to you by Investigator Gaither?
Yes. So that's Demikian Garland, and thank you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we're on number 2. We have 113. We have green. Again, we don't know, calling 1990. So that's YSL Enterprises. And then 114, 1993. I'm sorry, we just did that one. That's my mistake, 43 seconds. Going down here, we have YSL calling what we have identified as Jimmy Winfrey at 1:15 a.m. for 8-second duration. We then have YSL at 1:16 calling the 95-96, 247 seconds, so 60 seconds a minute. You can do the conversion in your head, whatever it is, 4 minutes, whatever that conversion comes out to be.
So about 4 minutes and 7 seconds?
Something to that effect, yes. And then here we have 1990, again, it's 1:39. And then we have it going to the 95-96, 13-second connection there. And then we go down to what we have as Kai B, the Dominican Garlington phone. It's 2:32 hours calling YSL, 0-second connection. And then we have YSL at 2:33 calling 6080 for 71 seconds. We don't have the subscriber information at this point. Again, then we have this number unknown, 6080, calling back at 2:35, calling back to the YSL number. That's a 177 second connection that we have there. So again, do the math, 60 seconds. So 2.5 minutes, whatever that math real quick in the head works out to be. Kai B, so Dominican Garlington, 2:38. It's the 9229 phone number calling YSL. Again, 42 seconds, so a little over half a minute. And then we have the 5726 at 2:44 calling YSL, 18-second connection on that one.
Now looking at State's Exhibit 139, Echo Charlie.
So same thing, 2:45, YSL calling 3383 at 2:45, 15 seconds. So YSL calling Jimmy Winfrey, 2:45. And then we now have 2:48, Jimmy Winfrey contacting back to YSL, 22 seconds. We have Jimmy Winfrey at 2:49 calling YSL Enterprises back at 2:49 a.m. for 28 seconds. Again, repeating 2:57 in the morning. Jimmy Winfrey calling YSL, 26 seconds. And then coming down again, so we have the 5726 phone number, which we don't have the subscriber information for. Trying to call YSL Enterprises at 2:58, 0 seconds. YSL now at 3:02, calling what we have is 3383. So this is Jimmy Winfrey, 3:02 in the morning for 2-second duration. We now have Jimmy Winfrey at 3:03, calling back YSL for 3 seconds. 3:03 again, Jimmy Winfrey again calling YSL, 9-second connection there. So we're getting down to 3:07 a.m. YSL is now calling the 5790. 5790 is who we have identified as YSL Duke. So for 3 seconds. Continuing down, we have 1990 YSL, again at 3:07, calling YSL Duke for another 3-second connection. 3:08.
Well, we know who the
YSL
smartest one
calling Jimmy Winfrey.
in these phone
For 3
calls
seconds
is the guy that didn't have his phone in his name, where they couldn't identify the caller of the number. But everybody else they're identifying, and they're trying to establish that they're all associated with Young Thug. YSL Enterprises.
Now looking at 139, Echo Delta.
Amen.
Yes, please.
So we have 1990, which is YSL at 3:08, calling Jimmy Winfrey, 83-second phone call. 0314 hours, we have YSL calling Jimmy Winfrey, 17 seconds.
And what time did the phone call come in for the 911 call?
The 911 phone call reporting the shooting came into Cobb County Dispatch at 03:14 hours.
Okay. What do you have next?
We have Jimmy Winfrey now calling YSL Enterprises at 3:15, a 25-second duration phone call. I skipped the duration, I think, on those, but as we can see, 83 seconds for the first one, 17 seconds, 25 seconds. And then we come down to 3:17 a.m. We have the 2920 number calling Jimmy Winfrey, and this is a 536-second connection. Looking down at our chart, who is 2920? That is the phone that we have identified as Cash Money, who's
And then we identify it with a person that's in the
identified
records.
with a person, Brian Williams' phone, as Cash Money. So Brian Williams' Cash Money is calling Jimmy Winfrey, incoming phone call to Jimmy Winfrey at 3:17 for 536 seconds. We then have another incoming call from, again, Cash Money, Brian Williams, at 3:26 a.m. coming in to Jimmy Winfrey for a 5-second.
Birdman was really
We
sloppy
then have
on the phone with these dudes, man.
3:36 a.m. Jimmy Winfrey now goes out.
No matter how much money you got, man, you can't be on them phones chopping it up.
For 25 seconds.
Right.
And then continue on, man.
Yes.
So at 3:37, we have 5726. Again, checking our key. No subscriber information. Calling 1990, which is YSL. 0-second connection. 3:38. We have YSL calling the 5726. No subscriber information. 3-second duration. We then have YSL at 3:53 calling 5790. So 5790 is going to be YSL Duke. 0-second connection. We have 1990 YSL at 3:53 calling again YSL Duke. 0-second connection. We then have YSL Enterprises 619 calling YSL Duke for 4-second connection.
And is that 6:19 in the morning?
That is 6:19 in the morning, yes ma'am.
For our last board, 139 Echo Echo. Let me just ask you here generally, is this the 1990 YSL Enterprise phone calling the YSL Duke phone from about 6:19?
Basis. I stand the objection. You can rephrase.
Is the YSL phone calling is the YSL Enterprise phone calling the YSL Duke phone?
Yes.
And what are the times that the YSL phone is calling the YSL Enterprise phone calling the YSL Duke phone?
6:19 a.m., 6:19 a.m., 6:44 a.m., 6:44 a.m., 15:56. So the conversion is 3:56 p.m., 3:56 p.m., 18:57. So -2. So that's 6:56 p.m., 27 seconds. 18:56. So same. 6:56 p.m. for 27 seconds.
Okay. And does that appear to be a duplicative of this call here? Both 18:56 and 27 seconds?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right. Now, as it relates to, let me ask first, the YSL Duke phone, were you able to plot or determine where the YSL Duke phone was?
No, YSL Duke.
You haven't seen. And why is it?
The YSL Duke phone number, I only sent a grand jury subpoena to that phone number, which means I did not get historical cell site data. I did not get location data through that. So I didn't have historical cell site data to place the YSL Duke phone number.
What about the 1990 number? Were you able to plot or know where the 1990 number was during this duration?
Yes, I received the cell site data for the 1990 phone number.
And did you receive that from AT&T back in 2015?
Yes, correct.
And
The phone calls was all short. 20 seconds. I think one of the longest calls was 500 seconds. All these calls was short. 3 seconds. 27 seconds. Yeah, so I'm wondering, did the phone calls get picked up some of the time? Might have been the voicemail that caught the phone call. Because those 3 seconds and 5 seconds, 2 seconds, that might have been the voicemail.
You may, ma'am.
I'm gonna show you what's the mark. The 60172 Echo. You recognize this is the 172 Echo.
I do.
And how do you recognize this is the 172?
These are the notes that I made this morning in reference to the location information.
And is this the same location information that's contained within the excerpt that the 134 Echo chart?
That's correct. That's where I got it from.
And did you just take, what did you do in order to create that?
Basically, I just used a snippet tool, a line off of the records, and then copied it on a Word document. And then I took the Latin long, the latitude and longitude that was provided by AT&T in their records and threw it into Google Maps. And it dropped a pin. And then I just screened a snippet, basically, the Google Maps with the pin location, and then I just put that picture in the Word document, and then basically created notes that I could see what Latin long and a visual aid for myself with a pin dropped.
And will that assist you in telling me where that phone was, that 1990 phone was on between April 25th and April 26th, 2002?
Yes, absolutely.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would like to tender Stacy Exhibit 172E as a demonstrative.
Any objection to states on 171 Echo as a demonstrative?
172 Echo.
172 Echo as a demonstrative? Mr. Sharp? Microphone, sir.
I do object.
Basis.
The demonstrative is not what the detective purports it to be. I can approach to explain.
I don't think that's a valid objection at this point in time. I'll just overrule
Well,
it.
it would be lack of authentication.
Overrule, sir. Overruled. All right, on 172 Echoes admitted over objection may be published as you see fit as a demonstrative only.
Your Honor. Our previous objections about no qualification.
I still note, yes, sir, noted. And continuing. All right.
So what was it? Well, that agent telling me where that phone was at certain times throughout that evening and morning.
Yes.
Starting with the first location plot, what was the time that you plotted?
So I took just a snippet. So it has 0158. Again, that's UTC time. So that's, you have to do the minus 4 hours. So that's going to place us at 9:58 p.m.
Okay.
on the 25th. So you have to roll back because that's placing us the day before.
Oh, sorry.
You said turned off? Okay. Okay, now it's off. Yeah.
Roughly, where was the general location, general address for that number at that time?
So generally speaking, it's just a little bit north of the I-75, I-85 split on the bottom side of Atlanta. So it's, if we were looking at a clock, it's 6 o'clock, meaning down, straight down from the center of Atlanta where the connector is, just north of the split, the 75-85 split.
Okay.
I can give you the latitude and longitude, and then that's going to be of the cell tower.
Your Honor, this
Sir.
I'm going
What,
to...
you have an objection?
Yes,
Basis.
403, confusing the jury, and we're getting to the point of my objection.
Okay,
Talk about cell towers.
okay, yeah, I got your objection. I'll rule your objection, noted for the record, sir.
We don't need to let long. Do you have to know what phone number is being connected to at that time?
Yes.
Okay. What number is that?
So it's the originating number is going to be the 1990. The number that it's calling is going to be 404-426-6263.
Okay. What's the next time that you plotted?
So it's going to be 0205 hours on the 26th. Again, the conversion to 4:25:15 is going to place us at 10:05 p.m.
And where is the general area of that phone?
Okay, generally, it's the same. It's in the area of Metropolitan Parkway.
So that different from the I-75, I-85?
Yes, it's just slightly north of that.
Okay. And what's the phone number?
So this is going to be the originating phone number is 504-346-9596, and it's calling our 1990 YSL phone.
Okay. What's the next time that you plotted?
So I jumped closer to the further up in time.
Okay.
So it's 0304, so subtract 4. Again, that's the 26th, so subtract 4 puts us at 11:04 p.m. on the 25th.
Where's the general area of that?
It's downtown Atlanta, generally where we are now, just kind of like in the heart of Atlanta, near it's west of the Grady Curve.
And what's the phone number being contacted?
So 1990 is contacting 404-798-8491.
8491.
Correct.
Okay. What's the next location?
So I jumped ahead an hour again. So this is 0406 on 4/26/15. So that's easy conversion, -4. It puts us at midnight, just inside the night of the 26th. So 12:06 a.m. on the 26th.
Okay. Where is the general area of that call?
We go back to our almost first location. So the I-75, I-85 split just north of that area.
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Weinstein, you have an objection?
Yeah, I do have.
Basis.
I do have an objection. It calls for speculation as far as area of the call. He knows where the cell tower is.
Okay,
but not the call.
speculation is your objection, not the rest of the speaking. I'm going to overrule the objection, sir.
And let me ask you this: with cell phone towers, does it give you an exact pinpoint or a radius or area?
So in these records, this is a location of the tower. So we just have a radius. But going off this, we just have.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Basis.
He's raising objection. Again, it's calling for expert testimony.
I would agree
He's
with
not
that.
an expert.
I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, now you want to
Disregard
sustain.
the last statement about our witness.
Overrules
Your
everything.
Honor, I would, without that explanation, I would move to strike his entire.
I just said, jurors to disregard the last statement.
And I would move to strike the previous testimony because.
Overrule, sir. Thank you.
All right. So you said I-75, 85, just north of the split.
Correct.
And what is the phone number that's being called?
So the 1990 is calling 404-798-8491.
All right. What's the next time?
Okay, so I just jumped ahead another hour. So it's 4/26 at 05:13. So doing the conversion, it's 1:13 on the 26th.
So it was 0426 to 0513 to 0513.
05:13, now converting it, it's 1:13 Eastern Standard Time.
And where's this phone? Where did you plot this phone at? This call at.
Similar to,
Your Honor, calls for speculation.
I stand
Where
the
the phone is at.
I stand the objection.
Where did you plot?
similar to the last location, just slightly south of the last location. So the I-75-85 split just south of that.
And what's the number being contacted?
The originating number is 404-426-6263, and that's calling our YSL 1990 phone.
What is the next time?
It's the same time, 0513. And so that's 1:13 in the morning, correct?
I think this is just pointless. You could have gave them the printout that they had before. I don't get the point for this.
What area did you plot?
Just south of what's known as the Grady Curve. It's more north than our last location on the 75-85 connector, but it's south of the Grady Curve. It's just a little bit north of our last location.
Are you saying the other location is north of this location?
That is more north than our last one. So it's from the last one we spoke about, it moved north.
Okay.
The plot is north of that.
Now, when you said I-75-85 split, which I-75-85 split are you referencing?
We're still talking about the bottom one, south side of the city, not north side.
Okay, so let's, for clarity, so when you were talking about this I-75, I-85 split, are we talking about closer to the airport or closer to going towards Buckhead?
I've been the entire time.
Ask and answer, John. You said it was.
Okay, all right, that's, I don't need any speaking objections, gentlemen. I keep telling you all that. I'll sustain your objection.
You're right. Okay. All of these were I-75, 85 South?
Correct.
Is that close to the airport?
Yes, it is. If we're using that as a reference, closer to the airport, yes.
Is that the same for what I've identified as number 4 on here?
Yep. Yes, same reference point.
Okay, so when you talk about the graded curve, which is what we're going to apply as number 6.
It's south of the graded curve, correct? South, just south of the graded
This is
curve.
just south of the graded curve. What phone number?
678-353-9229 is calling our YSL 1990 phone.
Okay, sorry, 678.
Yes, 353-9229.
Okay. Number, did you plot another call after this?
Oh, yes.
What time was it?
It's 0516, so that's 1:16 a.m. on the 26th.
And where is the area that you plotted?
It's it's just west of the I-20, I-75, I-85 connection. Just that's right at the bottom part of the graded curve. Basically, near the state capitol, just south of the state capitol, at the I-20, 75, 85 kind of intersection area.
All right. And what number was contacted?
Our 1990 YSL Enterprise phone is calling 504-346-9596.
Is it 346-9596?
Yes, correct.
Okay. What's the next location that you plotted, or next time you plotted?
So this is going to be 0657 hours. So -4.
2:57 a.m.
That's correct. On the 26th.
What's the area of this call?
So that's going to be kind of west of Georgia Tech. So we're now, if we're looking at a clock, we're now looking at like a 10 o'clock if you were drawing from the center of Atlanta out to northwest of like kind of where we're at now. Just west, it's western direction from like the Georgia Tech area. I could give you a better reference point if you would like.
Yes, please.
It's getting into the area of Brady Avenue, the compound.
All right. And what number is being contacted?
So the YSL Enterprise phone is being contacted by 404-664-3383, which is the phone number that the subscriber information comes back to Jimmy Winfrey.
Okay. What's the next time that you plotted?
0657.
Is that the
I'm sorry, 0658. I'm sorry. So just 1 minute later.
is that 2:58 a.m.?
That is correct.
Same 4/26/2015.
That's correct.
All right. Where's the area of that phone?
The compound, Brady Avenue.
Is this same Northwest Georgia Tech?
That's correct.
And what's the phone number?
So the number calling our YSL phone number is 404-901-5726.
All right. What's the next one?
It's 0703. So the -4 conversion is 303 AM.
Where's that phone plotted?
Similarly the same, Brady Avenue, Club Compound.
And what's the phone number?
So the phone number calling our YSL Enterprise phone number is 404-664-3383.
Okay, so they trying to establish
What we've identified
all
as
these
Jimmy
people
Winfrey.
contacting Young Thug, I guess from down there where the shooting was at that club when they shot Lil Wayne's tour bus up. So they're trying to connect that all these calls came from this area the night of that shooting, and they all went to Young Thug, and Young Thug was calling them back.
Looking at, did you plot something else after this?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. Where is the next time?
0707 hours, so -4 conversion equals 3:07 AM.
What's the location?
So it's going a northwestern direction away from our area of Brady Avenue Club Compound, towards going more northwest towards 285.
And what phone number is being contacted?
So this is our 1990 YSL Enterprises phone number, contacting 678-815-5790.
What's the next time that you plotted?
0714 hours.
0714.
Correct.
Okay.
Which equals 3:14 AM
On 426.
on 426.
Where's this plotting?
It's plotting 285 at I-75. Best reference point is near the Battery Braves Stadium would be my reference point. That's current day Brave Stadium. Obviously in 2015, I don't think the Braves were there yet.
Okay. And what's the phone number being contacted?
Our 1990 YSL phone number is contacting 404-664-3383 that we've identified as Mr. Jimmy Winfrey's phone number.
Did you plot after this?
I did.
What is it?
0715 hours, so 3:15 AM.
Where is the phone? Where did you plot?
It's 285 east of I-75, more towards Northside Drive would be my reference point in that direction, general area.
Did you say 285 east?
Correct. So it's still on the 285 line, east of I-75. And my best reference point would be, I think it's Northside Drive is the next exit, if my memory serves me.
And what number's being contacted?
So 404-664-3383, which we've identified as Jimmy Winfrey, is contacting our YSL Enterprises 1990 phone.
Did you plot after this?
I did.
What did you plot?
0716 hours, so 1 minute later, that puts us at 3:16 a.m.
Okay.
So our YSL phone number, oh, I'm sorry, did you want location?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. We're still on the 285 going eastbound or northbound, however you want to determine it there. And it's further that northeastern direction going towards 400.
And what number is being contacted?
So the YSL Enterprise phone number 1990 is contacting 706-351-7742.
Okay. Did you plot after this?
I did.
What is that?
0718, which puts us at 3:18 a.m.
Where's the where did you plot?
It's going more that northeast direction, tracing I-285, going towards 400. I think the next exit's like Roswell Road, around that area. If my memory serves me.
And for the plot before that, is that still in that Roswell Road area, or?
Yeah, it's correct. It's just moving more easternly. It's the one before that's on the other side of the Chattahoochee right there. This one is on, the one before that was on the west side of the Chattahoochee. This one's on the east side of Chattahoochee. So we're just moving in that same direction.
And when you said Chattahoochee, you mean the river?
The river.
Okay. What's the phone number being contacted?
So on this one, a number is calling into our YSL phone, and it's the 1990, and it's 770-875-2045.
Did you plot after this?
I did.
What's the next one?
The next phone call is at 0728, so that's 3:28 a.m.
Okay. Where is the location of this phone?
So we're now on I-75. Basically, I would say in between 285 and the I-75, I-85 connector, kind of right in between. So I would imagine just south of Northside Drive. Without blowing up the map, I'd say just smack dab in the middle.
You said I-75.
So smack dab in the middle, if you're tracing I-75 from 285 in the Grady curve, smack in the middle of the connector and 285, just right there in the middle on I-75.
Okay. And what's the phone number?
So a phone number is calling into our YSL Enterprise 1990. It's the 706-351-7742.
Did you plot after that?
I did.
What's the time?
7:36 UTC, so that puts us at 3:36 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
What's the area that was plotted?
We're now south of the Grady curve at the I-75, I-85 intersection of I-20. We're south of I-20.
Is that still on 7585?
Yeah, so on 7585, south of I-20, just coming south of the Grady Curve.
Okay. And what's the phone number?
So calling into our YSL cell phone, enterprise cell phone, is the 706-351-7742.
Did you plot after that?
I did.
What's that?
So 1 minute later, 7:37 UTC, which is 3:37 a.m.
Where was the area that was plotted?
Pretty much the same exact area of before.
Is that I-75, I-85?
Correct. South of I-20. Correct. South of the Grady Curve. I'm trying to think my Atlanta geography. I think that's like Georgia State's new stadium. That's there, the old Turner Field kind of area.
And what's the phone number?
So calling into our YSL Enterprise phone number is 404-901-5726.
Okay. What's the next time?
So 0738 UTC, so just 3:38 a.m.
What's the location?
So it's south of what we were at before. So it's on the I-75-85 interstate, south of the I-20 and Grady Curve.
Is that still in the same Turner Field, old Turner Field location somewhere?
It's just south of that location.
What's the phone number?
So our YSL Enterprise 1990 is contacting 404-901-5726. I think last but not least is it's 0753 UTC, so it's just 3:53 a.m.
Finally, last but not least. This here was like dragged out.
What's the area?
So it's I would say Metropolitan Parkway near I-20.
And what's the phone number?
So our YSL Enterprise 1990 is contacting 678-815-5790.
And have we identified that number? The 5790.
5790? Where's our key at?
The first one? No, going back. Last one. Oh, no, it's over here.
Sorry about that. 5790 is the YSL Duke.
Okay. Now, looking at the plots on the 1990 phone, are there any similarities with the route that the 3883 phone took on the night of April 25th, 2015 into the morning of April 26th, 2015?
Objection, Your Honor. It calls for speculation on the plot film versus the plot of the towers.
I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Oh, he sustained something.
Looking at what we charted out yesterday with some of the location areas, did you see any consistency between what we plotted out yesterday with the location areas and what we plotted out today, the location areas?
Same objection, Your Honor.
I sustain the objection.
Looking at the chart from yesterday, do you see some of the same location names that you identified yesterday?
Same objection, Your Honor.
I sustain the objection.
He's gonna have to rephrase this
Yesterday,
question.
At 2:01 a.m., did you notate that on April 26th that this phone, the 3883 phone, was in the area of Brady Avenue?
Objection, Your Honor. It calls for speculation.
Overruled, sir. I'll sustain as to leading, but I'm not, I'll overrule that as the answer.
What time, looking at what we did yesterday, at 2:01 and 3:04, is there a notation regarding Brady Avenue?
There is.
And at that time, what phone number was being contacted?
The 1990 YSL Enterprise phone.
And based on yesterday, did you identify a particular area based on this chart that we did yesterday?
I did.
What was that?
So that's Brady Avenue, Club Compound.
Okay. Now, looking at what we just discussed, do you see a notation for the 1990 phone at about 2:57 a.m.?
I sustain the objection.
Is there a line for 2:57 a.m. on what we just charted out?
There is.
Okay. And on that same line, is that line number 8?
Yes,
Okay. On that same line number 8, did you identify a general area?
I did.
What was that?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Sure.
Thank you.
Every way she put the question, she's leading to try to get him to say what she wants him to say. She know what she doing. And the judge is riding with her. The judge already thinks Young Thug is guilty. So he's doing his best to push the weight on the prosecution side with his rulings and the things that he's allowing to be presented. And the thing is, all these people sitting up here at the judge's bench talking to the judge, they're there for their job. They have a job to do. They suffer no consequences from this situation. If any of these guys beat the case, if they get found guilty, they suffer no consequence. So they just there to do a job. People, you got to think and make sure you do better about putting yourself in this situation. This is a situation that you can't even say anything. You can't even speak, and your life is on the line. All the people that don't hold any responsibility for this situation, they are the one talking. They are the one litigating. They are the one at war. But your life is on the line. You are the one that suffered the consequence. Is this worth it? Does this make any sense for the image that is portrayed out there when these people present as if they are the gangsters? No, these people are the real gangsters. They are the gangsters. because they hold the weight of your life in their hands. Either you go in or you stay out on the street. These people hold the key to your life, man. Being rich, having money doesn't mean as much when you sitting in there in a courtroom and you can't use your money. You can't go out and enjoy yourself. You have to return back to a cell. We got to think. We got to think. This is the situation ending. This is how it ends. They in there laughing, talking, smiling amongst each other because they understand that it's a job that they're doing. Don't be a part of their job. Try your best not to be a part of their job. It's how life go, though. And the court reporter right there, she is busy. They keeping her busy. Brain is rumbling. They objecting. They arguing points. And she has to type all of this. She has to record all this. Because they have to go back and be able to get the transcript for this. And to review everything that was said, that was documented. So the judge is saying that he doesn't want anybody to object in the middle of a question because she has to type that in. You see this so many times, though, how they laugh amongst each other in a situation. And I'm sure they want to do their job and they want to work for you as well as the prosecution. They want to get a conviction. But putting yourself in this situation is kind of crazy when you sitting there thinking about you had the world in your hands. You had everything. You had people doing things for you. Thug had a pool in his living room. The man had a pool in his living room. And now you sitting around a whole bunch of people with your life on the line. Ain't nothing cool about that, man. Ain't nothing cool about it. And this is day 76. And they haven't been doing the trial every day. They've been taking time off, but this is day 76. Day 76. The internal feeling that you feel in this situation is like no other. And then not being able to go home at the end of the day. You got to go sit in the cell and think about this process. You got to sit there and think about, man, what if these people come back and say I'm guilty? And they try and give out life. They want to get an elbow. Letters. No numbers now. All letters. Deep. We ain't heard nothing from Miss Love, the prosecutor. They've been letting the other lady talk and do most of the work. She ain't been talking. Yeah, she ain't been talking at all. This is a lot, though. This is a lot. They probably having nightmares and dreams about this case. Wake up every day to come in here and deal with this. And people get themselves caught up in these jobs. This really isn't like a life. Like, your life consumed to this for the money. Is that enjoying life, to get up every day and go into a courtroom and deal with legal battles, and then you get old and die? Is that life? We got to be confused about a lot of things that they get us to indulge and function in, because this ain't life. What you doing it for? Generational wealth? Get out here every day and push to put people in jail, to fight for people's lives. Yeah. The legal world. The legal world. This was a long argument right here. They had a lot to say in that one. This is a long argument.
Well, how about a comfort break? You okay? About 10 minutes, maybe? What do you think? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a comfort break, 10 minutes, okay? All right. All rise. All right, our jury is left, ladies and gentlemen.
My clients and yours and Mr. Adams' occurrence, I was hoping to be for 45 today for exam.
If you go ahead and take your seats, please.
Yes, Bruce.
Everybody here?
No, we good.
Everybody here?
Yes.
All right, Sergeant Brown, is everybody here supposed to seated? I'll note for purpose of record, Mr. Sharp wished to be excused. Mr. Botch, you have the con, so to speak. Mr. Stillwell, that's okay with you, sir? Okay, all right. All right, summon our jurors, please, sir. And our witness.
All jury present, accounted for.
All right, thank you, Sergeant Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. All right, Ms. Hilton, you may continue your examination, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to now publish the demonstrative of 172 Echo.
Yeah, sorry.
Now, first, looking at the first page of 172 Echo, what is this first map that we're looking at? If you could scroll down this night. Is that the first, is that a map of the first location that we discussed?
This been admitted for demonstrative purposes only?
It's been admitted for demonstrative purposes.
I'm checking right now, sir. Hold on 1 second. 190, you said 180 what?
No, 172, Your Honor, Echo.
Yes, it's been, Mr. Shield, it's been admitted for demonstrative purposes only. Thank you.
Now, earlier when you talked about the location, is that where what is at this location? What is at the Penn site?
So, what's at the Penn site?
Yes.
So that's the location in which the CDRs direct me to, is the way to say it.
Let me ask a more direct question. Is that a cell tower?
Yes.
Okay. And as we look at the maps and we talked about where you plotted, are you plotting where the cell tower is located? That's
correct.
Okay. All right. So now looking at the 158, is that the 958 time frame on 4/25/2015?
That is correct.
All right. And again, in looking at the map, is that similar to what you were speaking of when you said it was I-75 to I-85 split south of the airport, closer to the airport?
Correct. We could see the split just below that pin drop. And the airport's, of course, right there. We see that blue airport pin that Google Maps put on it. But yes, that red pin is just north of the 75-85 split on the south side of the city.
Okay. Now going up to the next map. Now, is that the time for 205?
Correct.
Okay. And again, is that the area that you identified, the cell tower? Excuse me, let me ask you this without leading. What is the pinpoint? What is the red dot? Excuse me.
Red dot's the cell tower location.
Okay. And is that what you identified here as the Metropolitan Parkway area?
Yes. So Metropolitan Parkway is that directly north and south, right to the. So that's going to be the Metropolitan Parkway right there. So we're north of I-75-85, and that's Metropolitan Parkway right there. So I just identified it as a reference point that it's close to the Metropolitan Parkway.
And when it came to your investigation, what, if anything, was near Metropolitan Parkway?
The Vault Studio.
Okay. Now looking at what we identified here as number 3. And is that the 3:04 time frame?
Yes, that is.
And where is the red dot?
So that's going to be where I described, I think, here at the courthouse, basically, west of the Grady curve, which that's the curve. And I'll say like Grady's right in the middle, but that's the Grady curve, and just west of the Grady curve, kind of like where we're at now, the heart of downtown Atlanta.
And is that where the cell tower is located?
Correct.
All right. Looking at number 4. And again, where is the pinpoint and what did you describe?
So that's what I described. It's kind of back at that, just north of the I-75-85 split on the south side.
And you can use your stick, or use the stick.
So just north of that 75-85 split, and of course the airport would be like right down here again, but we're just north of that split.
And for the record, are you pointing at the screen that is now showing Stacy Exhibit 172 Echo?
That's correct.
All right. Now looking at number 5,
Yep.
which is the 5:13 time.
Mm-hmm.
You can describe for sure based on the map what we discussed
So
at number 5.
Yeah, so that's going to be the 75, as we can see, and the 85 split. And as we described it, kind of near the, so here's the airport, so we're kind of near the airport. And again, that's that 75-85 split right there.
And again, is that where the cell tower is located?
That's correct.
All right. Okay. Looking at number 6,
Correct.
is that describe again based upon here what we're looking at number 6?
Correct. So we're on the 75-85.
You can break it out a little bit.
We're on the 75-85 connector right here, south of I-20, south of the Grady curve, south of I-20, right here on the connector.
Okay. Now, number 7. Right here we have a 521. So where is that one located? Oh no, that's 516. I'm sorry.
516, yeah, correct.
Okay. All right. What are we looking at here? Sorry.
Yeah, so 516, which is going to put us at 1:16 a.m. That's that pin that we discussed being west of the I-75-85 connector, just south of 20. And I describe it kind of like the Capitol, because the Capitol is kind of just at the bottom part of the Grady curve right there, where our state capitol is. So we're kind of just south of that location as described previously for 7.
And again, is this where the cell tower is located?
That's correct.
All right. Looking at number 8, which is the time at 6:57. Again, if you can kind of explain or show what we're looking at in the map based upon number 8.
Okay, so Georgia Tech is kind of like in this area, right in here. And the cell tower, I described it of being like northwest of Georgia Tech near Brady Avenue. So Brady Avenue is going to be right kind of generally in this area, but Georgia Tech's there. So we're looking kind of right in that area. But the cell tower, the pin is right there.
Okay. And again, based on your investigation, was that the general location where the compound is?
That's correct.
All right. And again, is that pinpoint a cell tower location?
That's a cell tower location.
All right. Looking at number 9. think
I think they should. Okay.
come down one.
Correct.
Okay, right here. Okay, now looking at number 9.
Yeah, so that's 6:58 UTC, which puts us at 2:58 a.m. I describe it as northwest of Georgia Tech, near the club compound. So that's kind of, that cell site location is closer to club compound Brady Avenue than the previous one. That's that I previously discussed.
Okay. And I think you just said it, but again, is that just where the cell tower is located?
Cell tower located there.
All right, I'm sorry, I flipped it. And now number 10.
Sure. So 10 is at 0703 UTC, which puts us at 3:03 a.m. And we're now at the cell tower, kind of like previously described, northwest of Georgia Tech and west of Brady Avenue there.
Okay. So based on the records between 257 and 303, the phone is on 3 different cell towers in that that location.
I sustain the objection.
Based on between 257 and 303, where are the cell towers located?
Overruled, sir.
So this cell tower and this cell tower, number 8 and line number 10, those appear to be in that northwestern direction, and this one appears to be compound. So there is at least tower movement, is what we're seeing at the cell phone and the towers.
Ms. Hilton, before you pose another question, counsel, can I see y'all for a second? Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached a natural stopping point for the day. So what I like to do is just recess us for the day. Agent Racy, if you could be here tomorrow morning for 9:45 for anticipated 10 o'clock start time.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. I'm going to release you at this time, sir.
Yes, sir.
Don't discuss testimony with anybody except the attorneys in this case.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any minister inquiry of me? Okay. Tomorrow morning, report time 9:30 for anticipated 10 o'clock start time. We'll have a regular work day and see where the day leads us, okay? All right, let's go through your admonitions. Remember, leave your notepads in the basket. Please do not discuss anything about this case that you may have heard today, either when you're going out or as you are going to get your vehicles or take any mode of conveyance back to your homes in our great county. Please do not discuss this case in any way along with your fellow juror members, as well as your family, friends, or anybody else that may be interested in this particular proceedings, remember, you're not authorized to tell them anything about what is your experiences thus far or anything that you heard. Do not go on any third-party websites to do any extra research or to augment or otherwise your understanding. The only thing you can consider is presented in the four walls of this courtroom. Remember, you cannot go by and visit any of the scenes or that may have been depicted or shown to you. Also, please do not allow for anybody to discuss this case within your presence and hearing. Remember, if anybody should try and discuss this case in your presence or hearing or reach out to you in any way, shape, or form, telephone, email, or otherwise, or in person, you need to let myself and Sergeant Ingram know immediately. And also remember, ladies and gentlemen, it would be a violation of this court's admonitions for you to sit back there and otherwise recap testimony, get a head start, or otherwise discuss or comment or handicap any witness or witnesses that have testified in this case or speculate as to anything else you may hear. You can only consider what is lawfully presented to you within the four walls of this courtroom, and at such time and circumstances, this court will give you directions on how you to begin that process. But until that time, it would be forbidden for you to do that. Okay? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, and the last thing, as usual, and as customary, I end off with is thank you for your patience, and thank you for your continued patience that you're continuing to give. And ladies and gentlemen, unless you have any other questions or inquiry of me, I'll recess you all tomorrow morning for 09:30 for an anticipated 10 o'clock start time, okay? All right. We are checking on your pay, as I told you. That is being submitted. And remember, if you have any issues with that, I can inquire, but let the process take, give a few days. I don't know exactly when they submit these things, but just make sure that if you don't think that you have your enumeration is correct, let me know and I know somebody. We'll check, okay? All right. Okay, unless you have anything else, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you tomorrow morning for 09:30. All rise. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Our jury has left us. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, any other minister inquire with me? So not, I'll release you till tomorrow morning.
I don't have can I make a motion and just let me know if I can do this tomorrow so I don't waste the time. Is that okay? Not waste the time, but take up the time.
What motion do you wish to make, sir?
So I made it at the bench. The state asked Honorable Agent Racy whether Mr. Winfrey pled guilty shortly after the October phone call that was played over objection, where he was, where an unknown person states that another unknown person stated he would get a Porsche.
Yeah, we covered that already. So you have an additional objection, sir?
Yeah, so this is my issue. So the state said, did he plead guilty? Knowing.
But we covered that, Mr. Steele. We covered that. So what's the additional ruling on it?
Knowing that was not a guilty plea. That was a coerced guilty plea is not a guilty plea.
But we had a discussion at the bench, and I told you that you can inquire into that depending upon what was testified to.
Okay, and I'm going to do that. I proposed, but my point is that was so low blow to say a month later a man who was coerced by a Superior Court judge in Cobb County pled guilty, that I don't know if I can overcome that, because the impression is that Mr. Winfrey was being rewarded for his guilty plea. The state knows that guilty plea was not.
But we don't know as I mentioned earlier, the bench, we don't know the circumstances of why that particular first guilty plea was rejected. I don't think it's relevant for our purposes. I don't think, and I think the state said they weren't going to get into it. So again, for the second time, because we covered that up at the bench, do you have anything else you wish to add to that? I don't think the state was trying to insinuate anything. If you want to test that or reason, because it might go to bias, it might go to motive to misrepresent. So
it bothers me a great deal, and I'm surprised, but I'm not ever in the mind of the court. It doesn't bother the court because it doesn't go to bias, and the state knows exactly what they did. They know, and you know.
I don't. The first time that I knew that there was an appellate opinion is when you told me, and that's it. I don't have any other knowledge of that.
Well, I read every opinion, and Winfrey versus State specifically states, and it gives what happened, that the Honorable Judge Staley in Cobb County coerced a human being to enter a guilty plea. For the state of Georgia to say, did he plead guilty a month later, that to me is beyond the pale. And I would like the court to...
I think that's just them asking. They're not asking why, which would be improper. But because it gets into evidence that would be not relevant for this particular proceeding.
I'm like twisted in my mind. I might be tired, but I don't follow. It should have never come in. It did come in. Now I have to deal with it. You tell me on cross. And
I don't think you're conflating, Mr. Steele, the bottom line basis as to why the initial guilty plea was rejected by our appellate court. I'm telling you that I don't know what the basis of that. I still don't know because I didn't read the opinion. The state didn't solicit that or elicit it from the witness. They only just said, hey, he pled guilty on another thing a month later. But the relevant portion that the court heard was the fact that if the jury wants to believe it, is the why as to what Mr. Winfrey may or may not have gotten. And that's the only thing that I heard at this point in time.
I think that, from being a person who loves what we do and loves the courts, I think it's offensive to say and have an agent testify that a guilty plea occurred when everybody knows or should know that guilty plea is not a guilty plea. It is struck, vacated.
Okay, and Mr. Steele, I'm kind of just telling you that the reason and rationale is not, that would be totally improper for us to get into.
Okay.
I would agree about that, but I don't think that was the state's intention in asking that question. So I'll note your concern for purposes of the record, okay?
Okay, so I'm going to make a proffer then for about 10 seconds if I may. And I understand what you said. Of course, I'll follow your rule. But I was going to ask Agent Racy, I was going to take the opinion, and I would be perfect to the opinion. And you stated that this man pled guilty. The man actually wanted to go to trial. He could say yes or no. The man was then told by Judge Staley that she doesn't see him winning. She knows the people in Cobb County. They will not like him. He will go to prison. He's going to be sentenced for X number of years, whatever the opinion says, and then he can answer the questions, and I will then ask the court to strike that testimony again like I did earlier. I understand you're telling me it's not relevant. I believe that it should have never come in the first place, and the state of Georgia has misled the jury. He did not plead guilty a month later because we do not recognize that as a guilty. When I say we, our system of what we call just was not. It was perverted.
Okay, all right. State, hold on, Mr. Matthews. The state wish to be heard on that issue.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. Hilton.
Your Honor, first I want to direct the court to an order that was entered on April 9, 2024, in which there was an order in which we cannot discuss the appellate process. What is a fact is that Mr. Winfrey pled a month later. what the state's asked, which was my next question, for, and I forget how I phrased the question, did he have to plea again and plea again to the same charges? And he said yes, approximately a year later, to show that there was something that occurred and he had to plea again. But the fact remained that 1 month later, he took a plea. Now, the reason why it was overturned, or the reason why that is the appellate process in which the court has ordered that we cannot discuss and that we cannot get into. What Mr. Steele is speaking of is the reason why it was overturned. That is not for this jury to determine. They can know he pled once and then he had to plea again, which is the plea that we had. Because what I can imagine is on cross-examination, if I did not ask that question, they would have crossed him on it. And so what I did was ask him about a fact, which was a fact, and then did something else occur later on, which is also a fact. And if Mr. Steele is going to go into what occurred during the appellate process, he's going to be assuming facts not in evidence, because that we never asked him anything about the appellate process.
When did I enter that order?
On April 9, 2024.
Okay, all right. So I've already dealt with that issue, Mr. Steele. I note your objection, so I don't believe that those questions would be relevant for this inquiry based upon my order. So, but I'll note your objection for the record, okay?
Of course. No,
all right.
I appreciate your kindness. Can I have 2 more statements for this, though? If you don't mind. I understand the ruling. I just want to make 2 more statements.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. First one is, I don't know how the state can say I was going to, or anyone, maybe I shouldn't speak for other people. I never had a conversation with the prosecution that I would ever cross-examine a witness on a coerced guilty plea.
You made a proffer, that's all. I mean, I don't think we need to spend more time with it, but
well,
I'm good.
Said that they took the wind out of the sails. I never, ever was going to do that. Number 2, based upon your ruling, I understand it, and I'd just like you to, I'm going to move for a mistrial because I can't cross in it. If it's denied, can you just do what I've been doing?
I'll deny the motion for mistrial. I'll go ahead and grant you, I will note that you've asked again for mistrial before the positing of the next question, which you've done. All right. Mr. Matthews, did you have something you wanted to tell?
Yes, I just wanted to chime in on that issue that has just been addressed by the court. I wanted to.
Which issue, sir?
That the Honorable Mr. Steele addressed with the court.
Which one?
The guilty plea.
Okay.
Or lack thereof.
Okay.
So essentially, Your Honor, when the state had Agent Racy on the stand, they started with the jail call. They played the jail call, give you a Porsche and $250,000. Then they identified this person shot. What did you hear him say? Heard $250,000, Porsche purchase. What was significant about that call? And then, Your Honor, the state said, now did a month later did Jimmy Winfrey plead guilty? In the testimony, the response was he pled. Mr. Steele made an ask to approach. We approached. He made his points at the bench. After he approached, that's when the state furthered their question and said, hey, did something occur a year later, and did he take another plea? So that was afterwards. So in my mind, Your Honor, that sequence of questioning by the prosecution led the jury to assume and conclude that it was after he heard $250,000, after he heard that a Porsche was going to be given to him, he pled a month later. And I don't think we can unring that. And again, the Winfrey versus State 304 Georgia 94, what Mr. Steele is saying, which I tend to agree with, is that after that Supreme Court reversed that plea, it was not a plea. It was not a guilty plea on that date when he initially pled a month later, because it was reversed. And it was reversed because the Supreme Court determined that the judge improperly, under Uniform Rules Superior Court 33.5 paragraph A, determined that she improperly involved herself in plea negotiations, and there are a number of quotes, "This opportunity is going away."
Okay, what does that have to do with the issue of what was just presented? I get it. The guilty plea was faulty for whatever reason.
And the state knew that, and they had a responsibility to know that. This is their
But we covered that on order on the 9th. We covered that at the bench. Mr. Steele already went through it. Do you have anything new you want to tell me?
Just that on the 9th, the state knew that. They knew that before they asked that question this morning.
Anything else, sir?
So I'm intimating to the court that door has been opened in our estimation. The court will have to rule on it.
I don't believe that door has been opened. I believe that at this point in time, it's going to stay closed. Okay? But I'll note your objection for the record.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. We're in recess till tomorrow morning at 9:30. I'll see you all then, okay? All right. 9:45. Oh, well, you all need to be here at 9:30 because it takes a little while for everybody to kind of get situated. All right. I'll see you all in the morning, okay? All right. We're in recess.
What was the vehicle that Lori Vallow, Alex Cox, JJ Vallow, and Tylee Ryan drove to Yellowstone?
The one that appeared on that video was a silver or gray F-150, a Ford F-150 pickup.
Did that have a box on the back? Do you know?
I don't recall. I don't think it had like a camper shell or anything like that. I think it had an open bed. It might have had a toolbox or something.
Okay. Do you have a recollection of being involved in any chemical testing of Lori Vallow or Alex Cox's apartment?
A chemical testing? No. I know that a subsequent time, the FBI did assisted the Rexburg Police Department in an additional search there, the evidence response team, and went to those two apartments in an effort to possibly see if there was potential crime scene there.
And when you say that, you're talking about like a luminol substance that was applied?
Exactly. And I know there were some swabs taken of staining and different things around the apartment of things that were just unknown substances.
Right.
And or that possibly have some reaction, and now that evidence would have gone with the Rexburg Police Department for any follow-up testing. The result of any such testing, I don't know.
You don't know what the results were?
No.
Okay. And again, if you could just recite to me the distance and for someone my age, feet is better than
Okay.
meters or anything like that.
I don't know if I can convert them as best I can.
Well, I will tell you from a million years ago in sports, and I understand what a meter or what a meter is. It's about 3 feet.
Yeah,
That
just a little.
helps you.
Yeah, just a little more than 3 feet.
At least it was 40 some years ago.
So the meters in this case came from obviously the data we received. So to be consistent, I didn't make any conversions. I just kept what they gave us.
Okay. Again, how many times from the time Alex Cox arrived in September 1st until the middle of November was he on the property or near the property?
I believe I testified earlier that there were 7 times that I saw from the data, 4 times in September and 3 in October.
Okay. Now this has a stamp of 1153 UTC 6. To your knowledge, would this be adjusted to what time then?
As far as I know, this is the time that appeared on the text. So I don't know if there's additional adjustment needed as of when this was sent. That's my understanding of when it was sent.
Did you do any investigation as to determining the facts that are set forth in this particular text message?
Could you clarify that question?
Did you check whether anybody heard a gunshot go off that morning in the neighborhood?
During the course of the investigation, investigators did attempt to talk to neighbors about things they might have seen. I don't believe there were any reports of anything like that, but some of that canvass of neighbors happened shortly after the investigation started. Now, by the time we received this was nearly, I guess, more than 8 months later. So I'm not sure any investigation was done about somebody recalling hearing a sound 8 months later before that.
Okay. And you didn't verify about whether or not there were any other wild animals in the pet cemetery?
So during the course of digging around the property and finding human remains, there were some animal remains that were found. Now, there was a forensic anthropologist on site that told us they were not human remains. What animal they were, I don't recall what kind of animal they were.
And you did confirm that there was at least at least some sort of a pet cemetery there. Is that right?
Yes, there seemed to be at least one animal near where Tylee's remains were found, if I recall, but I don't recall if it was a cat or a dog or if we could tell, or something else.
And to your knowledge, did you go back and review any of Tammy Daybell's correspondence regarding wild animals or any sort of issues they had with wild animals?
Correspondence like within her phone or elsewhere?
Facebook account?
I did not. I know that the analyst that reviewed her correspondence within that device. I don't know if there were other references to animals on the property.
Now we move on to Sunday, September 22nd. Is that right?
Yes.
And we're starting at, and obviously this isn't all inclusive. You're starting at about 4:26. Is that right?
Yes, this does not include the complete day. It includes just that afternoon.
Okay.
And evening.
Okay. And then you have at 4:26 to about 5:08, you have Alex Cox's phone at apartment 175.
Yes.
And then at 1 minute later, for about 2 minutes, Alex Cox's phone is at 107.
Yes.
And then the minute after that, Alex Cox's phone is at 175 from 5:12 until what looks to be about 6:45, if my math is correct.
Yes.
Okay. Now on September 22nd, Do you have a recollection of who was staying or was at Lori Vallow's apartment on September 22nd?
Yes, I'm aware Melanie Gibb had stayed the night that night.
What about David Warwick?
Yes, he as well.
And obviously, JJ Vallow was there, correct?
Yes. At least that was reported by them.
And Alex Cox was there as well, at least we're going to get through the rest of it, but at least part of the time, correct?
Yes.
And Lori Vallow was there on the 22nd of September as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you don't have any information, GPS, phone, or otherwise, to suggest from 4:26 on the 22nd until Monday morning that anybody else was on that property at that time, correct?
On the property at 107 or 175?
75 or 107.
I do not have any other information other than what I reviewed here.
Okay. And then at 1846 to 2003, which would be 6:46 to 8:03 at night, Alex Cox's phone is back at 107. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then at 2004 to 2009, it's back at 175. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then 2011 to 2356, it's back at 107, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So 2004, that's what, 8 o'clock?
Yes, that'd be 8:04.
And 2356 would be what?
11:56.
Okay.
And I just broke out each individual day in my report. So the final data point of September 22nd is the one at 2356 within Unit 107. Starting on September 23rd, the next data point that is at 12:11 a.m. or 00:11, and it's also in 107.
Okay.
So no information based on what I reviewed to show it moved, but there's a gap there, which was fairly typical.
And if you could just bear with me. And Judge, I submitted a 7T and I don't see that here.
We're bringing that up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it may have been on 7. I misunderstood. And if I could just have one moment, Your Honor, please.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, you have Alex Cox's phone at Lori Vallow's location at 2009. Is that correct?
Correct.
And again, that's 809.
Yes.
And then you have Alex Cox exclusively at Alex Cox's phone, exclusively at his apartment from 2011 till 2356, correct?
Yes, and then on to the next day. So I don't have it going back to 175 the rest of that night or early the next morning.
Okay. And then you, did you look into any correspondence between Lori Vallow, Melanie Gibb, David Warwick during this time period of September 22nd and 23rd?
I did not, but other investigators possibly did.
Was that taken into consideration as part of your review of the evidence in this case?
Yes, we were considering all the evidence. I'm not necessarily in possession of all the evidence or what other investigators did.
And Judge, at this point, I'd like to publish Exhibit 7T by way of the HDMI, if I could, Judge.
You may.
I know, I don't know if you can see that or not. And the blue highlighted is, can you read what the blue highlighted, the date?
Yes, I can.
Go ahead.
September 23rd, 2019 at 4:37 and 33 a.m. UTC 4.
Okay, and that may be adjusted 2 hours earlier for the UTC, so it may actually, because of the UTC, be 2:37. But would you be so kind as to look to the right? There's a box that says owner and Phoebe.
I'm sorry.
You see that?
Oh, up on, yeah, yes, I do see that phone number. 2 phone numbers.
Well, maybe not. Are you able to read the writing that's is under the body of this?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now I will represent to you that this has previously been admitted as Defense Exhibit 7T, and this is a communication between Lori Vallow and Melanie Gibb. Would you read that first sentence for me?
We sent this to Chad about 2 o'clock this morning. David woke up with great pain and sorrow in his heart.
And keep going.
He felt something big was going to happen. He saw something with 2 slashes in the side of the mountain, and something about people, and his heart was very heavy, and sharp pain in his stomach and pain in his legs, and he started crying.
Okay, keep going.
He can't remember what was going on or what he saw. It was going to happen now or soon. Please call is when you can. Maybe you can help him understand it. Whatever it was, this is immediate. There was nothing he could do, and it was a horrible feeling. He can't get to these people, and there was nothing he could do for them.
He can't get to these people, and there's nothing he could do for them, correct?
Yes.
And that's Melanie Gibb writing to Lori Vallow, is that right?
I am not sure.
And then there was to the left, back to the blue, at 4:37, there was a phone call from Lori Vallow to Chad Daybell, is that right? If you don't know, say you don't know.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to counsel testifying. In addition, I think the exhibit speaks for itself, and I don't even see the information being referenced as
Judge,
far as
I'm
the
going
call.
to move on, Judge.
I'll sustain the objection. Go ahead and move on.
Thank you. And Judge, we can unpublish this HDMI at this point. And I'll give this back to the bailiff if I could. Now the get Elmo back up.
You can publish on the Elmo.
Thank you,
Start it.
Judge. And Judge, I don't think I'm going to get through, but I'll get as close to 3:30. If the court wants to tell me when to stop, I'll obviously defer to the court's wisdom.
Yeah, if you want to just keep going, we'll end at 3:30.
Okay. Now, officer. Oh my gosh, I called you officer. Mr. Wright, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. We have the Alex Cox phone at 175 from 2004 to 2009. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then back again from 2011 to 2356, the phone is at 107, correct?
Yes.
And then again on September 23rd from 0011 to 9:41, the phone is back at apartment 107. Is that correct?
Yes. So there were data points really from 2011 on the 22nd until 9:41 on the 23rd, all at 107. So I didn't show it going to any other place during that time span.
Okay. So I guess my question is simply this, is that at 2011, which would be 8 o'clock, right?
Yes, 8:11.
Until almost 10 o'clock, correct? 23:56?
That's 11.
That's 11. I'm sorry.
11:56.
That's 11:56. The phone is at 107, which is Alice Cox's residence, correct?
Yes.
And then the rest of, there's a little bit of a gap between 23:56 and 111 that's not reflected here, but on the 23rd of September, Monday, Alex Cox's phone basically from midnight until 9:41 in the morning on the 23rd of September. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Do you happen to have any information as to where JJ Vallow was that evening?
I understand there were statements made by witnesses that were at the Lori's residence that they had seen him that night.
And that Alex Cox carried JJ Vallow up to his room at